I never thought my bank balance could dictate my heart's fate until the night he slid across a crisp envelope, his eyes unreadable. "Pretend to be my girlfriend," he whispered, voice steely. 30 days. $10,000. No feelings, no complications. I stared at the contract shimmering under the cafe's neon lights, heart pounding. Was I desperate enough to sign away my emotions? Streetlights flickered as the world outside slumbered, silent with promise. A stranger's proposition that promised nothing but a temporary alliance yet offered everything I secretly wanted. $10,000 for pretending independence. Or something more dangerous. Little did I know, this arrangement would spark a flame that neither of us expected. And as I lifted my pen to sign, I had no idea whose heart would truly be for sale. Because promises are fragile, and when two strangers agree to fake love, reality has a way of rewriting the script. After a shaky handshake and the rustle of crisp paper, I left that cafe with more questions than answers. Who was I agreeing to stand beside, and who was he? Really? Meet Emma Carter, 22, juggling 3 jobs just to keep a roof over her head. By day she's just a dedicated waitress at the Sunrise Diner, her warm smile disguising the exhaustion in her tired blue eyes. By night, she attends community college classes, losing herself in textbooks while her roommates gossip about weekend plans she can't afford. Her parents' medical bills pile up on the kitchen counter, each statement a reminder that every dollar matters. Emma's tiny studio apartment is both sanctuary and accountant's ledger, every corner bearing witness to her sacrifices. She dreams of becoming a nurse, but for now, her only options are overtime shifts and freelance tutoring gigs to keep hope alive. And then there's him, Alexander Montgomery, scion of one of America's most influential real estate dynasties. He lives in a penthouse where floor-to-ceiling windows frame city lights, reflecting his immaculate suits and steely gaze. Rumor has it he closed his first multi-million-dollar deal at 25, and his name adorns skyscrapers that scrape the clouds. But beneath that polished veneer, Alexander is haunted by family expectations. His grandfather's empire teeters on the brink, and the board whispers that a strong partner could steady his hand. At 30, his heart has been drafted into service ahead of his emotions. Charity galas and investor meetings blur into one unending performance. Their worlds couldn't be more different, yet their paths converged on that rainy Thursday night. Emma, desperate for extra cash to pay her sister's hospital bill, scanned the cafe's bulletin board at 3 in the morning. Alexander, desperate to maintain appearances at his grandmother's 60th anniversary gala, needed someone real enough to fool the cameras yet golden enough to please the family. When he found Emma, hair tied back in a no-nonsense ponytail, standing alone under a flickering street lamp, he recognized something authentic in her cautious gaze. Tonight, as Emma folds napkins at Sunrise's diner and Alexander reviews quarterly earnings in his boardroom, neither suspects how entwined their fates have become. Two strangers, separated by a gulf of privilege, are about to embark on a 30-day contract that promises dollars in exchange for devotion. But as stories like theirs often reveal, the costliest investment may just be one's fragile heart. He paused at the edge of the mahogany conference table, the late afternoon light slicing through the floor-to-ceiling windows and casting his angular silhouette across the polished surface. In his hand, he held a slim leather folder. Inside, the details of the most unconventional proposal Emma Carter had ever encountered. He set it down with deliberate calm and looked her in the eye, his voice quiet but commanding in the hushed boardroom. 30 days, he began, sliding the folder toward her. I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend for exactly 30 days. In public and in private. To my family, to my business associates, to the cameras at my grandmother's gala. You'll play the part flawlessly, and when the month is up, we walk away with no ties. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. In exchange, you'll receive $10,000. No feelings. No complications. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The number blazed on the contract's first page. 10,000. It was more than she earned waitressing for an entire month. More than she'd seen since her mother's hospital bills started arriving. Her fingers trembled as she picked up the folder, thumb grazing the first line of meticulously typed clauses. No romantic attachment. Confidentiality required. Termination at 58 days. Each stipulation felt like a shard of ice under her skin. She looked up at him. His expression was mask-like, impossible to read, and yet she could feel the pressure of his gaze, as if he, too, was weighing his life's next move on this fragile agreement. Outside, the city hummed beneath them, oblivious to two strangers bartering their hearts in the name of convenience. I don't know, Emma stammered, voice wavering. She thought of her little sister's trembling form in the hospital bed, the mounting invoices piled on their kitchen table like silent accusations. She thought of her rent, 2 weeks overdue, and the eviction notices lurking in her daydreams. Her pride rebelled, but necessity whispered louder. He leaned forward. Look me in the eye, Emma. Tell me you're not desperate. His tone held no malice, only an unspoken acknowledgement that some of us carry desperation like a second skin. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She swallowed hard. I am, she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. The words were both confession and absolution. He offered a single nod, then slid a pen across the table. Then sign. For a long moment, the only sound was the distant echo of traffic. Emma curled her fingers around the pen's barrel, hard pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She glanced once more at the terms: $10,000, 30 days, no strings. She thought of her sister's smile, the weight of her family's worries, and the possibility of breathing freely for the first time in months. With a steadying breath, Emma placed pen to paper and wrote her name across the dotted line. The click of the cap echoed like a starting gun. She handed the pen back, eyes locked on his, and in that charged exchange, they both understood that nothing would ever be the same. A contract had been signed, but somewhere between desperation and desire, something far more unpredictable had already begun to take root. Emma slipped into the silk dress Alexander had chosen for her, its deep emerald hue echoing the family crest stitched above the banquet hall entrance. Her pulse fluttered as they descended the grand staircase of the Montgomery estate, the gleaming chandeliers casting prismatic light across marble floors. Tonight's mission, dinner with his family, an event that could make or break his plan. As they entered the dining room, hushed conversations paused and warm smiles greeted them. Alexander's grandmother, matriarch of the family, offered a gracious nod. So glad you could join us, Emma. His mother's eyes searched her face, polite but probing. Emma straightened, remembering Alexander's whispered briefing. Stay poised, compliment each course, and never let your guard slip. She lifted her chin and extended a genuine smile. When his cousin teased Alexander about his mysterious new girlfriend, Emma leaned forward and laughed at just the right moment, her voice light and sincere. "I've always admired family legends," she said, glancing at the portrait-lined walls. "Alexander told me stories of your childhood escapades, especially the time you raced go-karts down the driveway." A ripple of laughter passed around the table. She punctuated her anecdote with a playful glance at Alexander, who appeared momentarily disarmed by her easy confidence. Between courses, when an aunt delicately questioned Emma about her background, she didn't hesitate. "I grew up working 3 jobs at a diner, as a tutor, and in a bookstore, so I appreciate hard work. I'm proud of where I come from," she replied. The family exchanged approving looks. Here was someone authentic, unafraid to claim her worth. In that moment, Emma realized the truth in Alexander's strategy: authenticity trumps artifice. Later, as they stepped onto the terrace for dessert, Alexander draped his arm around her shoulders. The cameras from a society magazine invited by his grandmother flashed politely. Emma felt her heartbeat quicken. She leaned in, pressing her hand to his chest. "Thank you for an unforgettable evening," she murmured, voice low enough for only him to hear. Outsiders watching would believe they were a couple deeply in love. Their public displays became more elaborate over the coming days. In Central Park, Alexander guided Emma through a carousel ride, his hand resting on the small of her back. Parents pointed and smiled, children waved, and even the ice cream vendor offered them a free cone. When Emma pretended to adjust his tie as they paused by the lake, bystanders whispered about their cute couple energy. Each staged moment felt perversely thrilling, the world perceiving them as something they were only pretending to be. But beneath each orchestrated touch, something unpredictable stirred. One afternoon, while they window shopped on Fifth Avenue, a passing bicyclist swerved too close, wheels skidding toward Emma. Instinctively, Alexander reached out, yanking her away from danger. His coat sleeve tore on the bike's handlebars, but he didn't flinch. Emma's breath caught, not at the rush of near miss, but at the fierce protectiveness in his eyes. That evening, as they shared coffee in a quiet cafe, Alexander's gaze lingered on her in a way it never had before, soft, almost tender. He brushed a stray lock of hair behind her ear, fingers trembling slightly. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice huskier than usual. Emma nodded, the distance between pretense and reality blurring. By the end of the week, Alexander was offering his jacket when she shivered, remembering that she was cold, a line they'd rehearsed for publicity. But this time, his concern wasn't for the cameras, it was genuine. And Emma, standing beneath the yellow glow of the street lamp, felt the first true warmth of his attention. In each fake moment, dinner laughter, staged embraces, protective rescues, their lines had begun to blur. What started as an elaborate contract was transforming into something neither had anticipated, a vulnerability as real as any scripted scene, and a connection that no camera could capture. The weeks ahead held countless staged encounters, but Emma sensed that their most authentic moments were yet to come. The gala's after-party should have been the perfect capstone to their relationship, but as Emma stepped into the gilded foyer of the Montgomery Gallery, Her breath froze at the sight of Caroline Sinclair Alexander's first love leaning against a marble column. Caroline's champagne flute sparkled in her hand. Her smile was a practiced arc, cool and confident. Alexander's face paled for a fraction of a second before he masked it with polite surprise. "Caroline," he said, voice crisp, but Emma sensed that old warmth flicker in his eyes. Caroline swept forward, greeting him with a familiar laugh and brushing a fingertip against his lapel, an intimacy Emma had only ever faked. Emma forced her lips into a smile as Alexander introduced her. "This is Emma, my girlfriend." Caroline's gaze drifted over Emma's sequined dress, her lips curving into a slow, assessing smile. "So nice to finally meet you," she purred, voice too sweet to be genuine. They circulated through crowds of socialites, but every flutter of Caroline's laughter sent a pang through Emma's chest. She watched as Alexander excused himself to speak privately with Caroline about a new gallery exhibit, their voices low, shoulders almost touching. Emma's throat tightened. She reminded herself, this was part of the deal: public displays, family events, even forced proximity to Caroline if necessary. But watching them together, she felt something unfamiliar twist in her gut: jealousy. Later, as Emma excused herself to find the restroom, she overheard Caroline say, "He still talks about us, you know. What a shame you're just a placeholder." Emma's heart stalled at the word placeholder. Was that what she'd become, a stand-in until the real thing returned? When Emma reappeared in the hallway, Alexander intercepted her with a gentle arm at her elbow. "Are you okay?" he asked. His concern was authentic, but her mind reeled. "She said I'm just a placeholder," Emma whispered, voice thick. Alexander sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Emma, Caroline, and we shared a lifetime of memories. You know this is all staged." His tone was measured, almost clinical. "None of it is real." Emma recoiled as though struck. "Staged. Fake. None of it real." Her chest fluttered as tears threatened. All week, she'd thrown herself into the role, laughing at his family's jokes, grinning for the photographers, offering comfort when he held her hand through dangerous encounters. She'd believed, at least a little, that behind those cool blue eyes there was something genuine. But his words shattered that illusion. "That's all I am to you," she whispered. Her voice cracked on the last word. Alexander opened his mouth, but no apology came. He hesitated, glanced at the opulent corridor lined with portraits of long-gone Montgomerys, and looked back at her. "I'm not trying to hurt you," he said softly. "We agreed no feelings." Then he turned, leaving Emma alone under the crystal chandelier glow. Her legs gave way. Emma pressed a trembling hand against the wall, the contract's terms echoing in her mind. 30 days, $10,000, no complications. She thought of her sister's hospital bills, her overdue rent, the promise of relief those dollars represented. But the cost had become too high. Every staged smile now felt like a lie. Every whispered compliment a hollow echo. She fled the gallery, heels clicking on marble, tears stinging her cheeks. Outside, the New York night was cold and indifferent. Emma's breath misted as she pulled her coat tighter. She felt the weight of the contract burning in her purse, the leather folder, the signed line, the ink that bound her to this charade. Back in her apartment, Emma sat on the edge of her bed, the city lights spilling through the window. She opened her suitcase and began tossing clothes inside her diner apron, textbooks, the little framed photo of her and her sister. With each item, her resolve hardened. She would leave before the 30 days were up. She would reclaim her pride, even if it meant foregoing the money she so desperately needed. As dawn broke over the skyline, Emma zipped the bag and scribbled a note. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. She placed it on the coffee table, grabbed her keys, and closed the door behind her. Contract intact, heart bruised and free to choose her own path once more. Days had turned into restless nights since Emma's departure, a haunting silence filling the spaces where her laughter once lived. Alexander Montgomery couldn't focus on board meetings or gala preparations. Every spreadsheet blurred into insignificance. Every celebration felt hollow without her warmth. He woke each morning expecting her smile in the corridor of his penthouse, only to be reminded by the echo of an empty apartment. He remembered her tear-stained note on the coffee table. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. That final line played on repeat in his mind, a reminder of his careless words. None of it is real. He had treated their time together as a contract, ignoring the tiny moments when his heart had betrayed him, when he lingered on her voice as she laughed, when he caught himself worrying for her safety beyond the script. Driven by guilt and longing, Alexander retraced the steps they once took together. In the rhythm of raindrops on the car roof, he saw her silhouette beneath the street lamp where they first shared pretend warmth. He called friends, tracked diner shifts, even drove past community college classrooms. But Emma was a ghost unreachable, wrapped in her own resolve. Then one stormy evening, a message arrived. A mutual friend had spotted Emma at the Riverside Pier, lost in her sketchbook as rain blurred the ink on paper. Without hesitation, Alexander jumped into his car and raced through the downpour, windshield wipers slicing through the darkness. Water splashed up against the windows, mirroring the turmoil in his chest. He found her under a broken awning, rain soaking her hair as she sketched a cityscape of puddles and neon reflections. Emma looked up, surprise and hurt warring in her eyes. He stepped out of the car, water dripping from his coat, fear constricting his chest. Emma, he called softly, voice almost drowned by the storm. She stiffened, clutching her sketchbook. Why are you here? She asked, voice trembling. Each word felt like a test. Alexander closed the gap between them, rain plastering his hair to his forehead. I'm sorry, he said, sincerity cracking through the facade he had perfected. I was wrong. What we had, it became real to me the moment I kissed you by the carousel. Emma's eyes filled with questions. Alexander knelt in the muddy water at her feet, ignoring the cold that seeped through. I trapped you in a contract, demanded you play a part, then treated your heart like collateral, he continued, voice laden with regret. But Emma, my feelings are real. I've fallen in love with you outside any script or clause. Tears mingled with raindrops on Emma's cheeks. The tension of their months together broke like a dam. She nodded once, silent as thunder rumbled overhead. Alexander rose and offered his hand, lifting her sketchbook carefully to the awning. Let me make this right, he whispered. Lightning split the sky as she placed her hand in his. He brushed wet strands of hair from her face, gaze intense. I don't want a contract, he vowed. I want us. Emma closed the distance, their lips meeting in a fierce, rain-soaked kiss. The world around them washed away, no reporters, no family expectations, just two souls finding truth in the storm. When they finally parted, breathless, Alexander pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Stay with me," he murmured. Emma's smile, hesitant at first, bloomed into something real. Together, they walked back toward the city lights, water tracing new paths on cobblestones, just one man and one woman. No scripts, no promises but the ones they wrote in that single, unforgettable moment. As Emma and Alexander discovered, love often unfolds in the most unexpected ways, born from a simple agreement, tested by jealousy and doubt, and finally sealed in a moment of genuine vulnerability. Their journey reminds us that even the most carefully scripted plans can't contain the power of real emotion, and that sometimes, the greatest risks lead to the deepest rewards. Questions for you, dear listener. Have you ever found yourself playing a role that unexpectedly became your reality? What would you be willing to risk for a chance at true connection? Do you believe that love can grow from mutual understanding and shared challenges? If this story moved you, let us know in the comments below. What part resonated most with you, and what twist would you add? Enjoyed this tale? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new romantic adventure. Join our community of dreamers and storytellers. Share this video with someone who loves a happily ever after as much as you do.